name is Mary Taylor, and I work for the Office of Career and Technical Education. And I want to thank you for your attendance today at this important meeting. I think since we have someone on the line, it certainly shows your dedication to students and this valuable credential that they can receive. We have on the phone with us today, or on this meeting with us today, we have David Lawson and Reagan Satterwhite, also from our office. If you don't know Reagan, she's filling in for Dana Tackett, who retired as the manufacturing consultant. And then David Lawson, I'm sure most of you know, is the construction consultant. And we also have our partners in this endeavor. We have Zach Rodas and Christy Pointer from the EKU Osha Training Center. And then we also have David Horseman, who's the Associate Commissioner for our office. So I want to welcome everybody, and I want to ask any of the people that I introduced if they would like to say something. I know that David Horseman would like to go ahead and welcome the group. David, are you on?
I'm on with my phone. I'm having trouble with the computer right now. So can you hear me all right?
Yes, go ahead, David.
Okay. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming here on a Friday afternoon to do this, and I'd also like to thank all of our partners that Mary has introduced today, and this has been quite a feat over the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm really proud of the work that all the teachers and staff associated with this project have done. I know we're in the thousands now of students that have received the OSHA 10. And I think that really this opportunity, and we really appreciate this opportunity from EKU to go virtual in this time of where we're dealing with a lot of push and pull with everybody and what's going to be good and what we're not going to get. This is going to be one thing that we can leave our students with for sure. And that's going to be something that's going to be valuable to them. So I just want to thank everybody, and I wish you well as we begin school, no matter how odd a situation it is. But I know that everybody is much better prepared than we were in the spring. And this opportunity is going to give us something that we can really run with until we get back in full-time in person. So thank you, Mary. Thank you, all of our partners, and thank you, all of our teachers. And if I probably won't be back on this afternoon, so I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you, David. I am telling everybody right now that this meeting is being recorded. In case anybody needs to go back and find some information, we will have that available. And then Zach, would you like to address the group?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, Zach, go ahead. Okay.
Well, thank you all for being on the call. I realize it's late in the day and we're fastly approaching a holiday weekend. So this means a lot to us, and it's good to see that it means so much to you. We're going to discuss some logistics with you today, and Mary and David. I've met with them several times, and I think we've put together a plan that can work for most everyone to the best of our ability. I know in the past we've talked about virtual instructor-led online training, and maybe that's not been something that was readily available or easy to pull off. But during this the pandemic, we've obtained some flexibility here, and we will work with you to get these exceptions through. Christy Pointer's on the line as well, and of course I know many of you are familiar with her, and we'll be working with you directly to try to come up with a way to get these virtual requests approved and let you train your students and get those 10-hour credentials in their hand. So just again, glad to see everyone here today, and I look forward to the conversation.
Yes, Zach has been a wonderful, and Christy both have been wonderful partners in this. What our plan is today is we're going to actually go through the template. Our office has done We hope a lot of the heavy lift on this and hope we're relieving some stress off of you by getting pretty much a fill-in-the-blank template ready for you to submit to EKU. So we're just going to go through that line by line in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to thank our group of teachers that have helped on this. On the construction end, we have James Spence from Barron County ATC, Jeff McKinney from Madison County ATC, and John Sloan from Letcher ATC. And our general industry side, we have Mick Sloan from Lake Cumberland ATC, Coy Hall from Clark County ATC, and Matthew Pratt from Webster County ATC. So, you know, we owe them a big thank you. They are the ones that have done the heavy lift on this as far as gathering all this and getting it together and getting this developed. So we really want to thank them for that. A few housekeeping items before we share our screen and just start going through this template is I am going to ask everybody to mute their mics, please, if you haven't already done so. And Reagan may put it up another time, but there is a link, a Google link on the chat that we need just the OSHA trainers to fill out. So if you're an authorized trainer, we need you to go ahead and fill out that form because that's your proof of attendance of today's meeting. So I think some of you had maybe written your names in the chat, but we actually need you to go into that link and it's literally just fill your name out. We will send, I will tell you right now, you don't really have to take a lot of notes unless you want to, because we will send a follow-up email with these links and attachments. And I am going to ask that you wait until the end for questions, or you can put your questions in the chat box and we will get to them at the end. But Zach, I do want to invite you at any time to jump in there if there's something that you need to clarify or make additions to, or something that maybe we didn't explain the way that in detail enough that you wanted us to. So I'm looking at my notes. So we are going to work through this template, and that each OSHA trained instructor will need to submit on their own. So as we're going through this, we have filled out a blanket template, but then you will need to submit this on your own. But we have filled in the blanks and we have guided you on how to fill that in. And just before we switch, Reagan, I'll let you know when we need to switch. But these courses are, and Zach, if you want to add to this, there's a minimum of 3 students and a maximum of 40 students. I don't know if that's different from what you all do with your normal classes. Zach, do you want to say anything about that?
That's in line with what they would do in the traditional classroom. But yeah, minimum 3, max 40. Makeup training sessions can be, 1 or 2 if needed, if a student misses a session. So. Okay.
And then this virtual option is available through the end of December 2020.
Yes.
So Reagan, I'm sorry, Zach, did you want to go ahead and say something?
No, I thought you were. Yes, that's correct. We have pretty good flexibility to approve these requests through at least the end of 2020 at this time. So.
Okay. So Reagan, I think we're ready to share the template, please.
All right. I'm going to try it with the way we're going right now. Things are looking a little slow, so if it doesn't share properly, we may ask everybody to turn off their video, but we'll try it and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Can everybody see that? It's at the top, it says request for OSHA 10 virtual delivery. All right, we're going to proceed. Okay, so A, we're just going to go through this letter by letter. A is asking for a detailed narrative statement indicating why the trainer believes an exemption is necessary and explaining why the inherent flexibility of the OSHA 10 outreach training program is insufficient to deliver quality training. As you could just read through our answer there, it's basically, related to the COVID pandemic. And there's a lot of unknowns for the 2021 school year. We don't want our students to miss out on this opportunity, so that's why we are making this request. And then as you can see, it says each authorized trainer will be required to complete this template. So you would work off this template, and that'll be part of the links of what we send out after the meeting to Chrissy Pointer at EKU. So B is just naming the authorized or the trainer, and then let's see, the assistant OSHA outreach training program authorized or guest trainers. So you just literally type in your name there, your school, and if you're authorized to train in general industry or construction. And then you can see on C, it's asking for a copy of your authorized trainer card, so you will need to attach that. And on D, it says documentation for all trainers. This is primary, assistant, and guest of prior experience delivering occupational safety and health via video conferencing, webinar, or other instruction that is not standard in-person classroom instruction, including topics, number of courses delivered, etc. So what we've done with that is we basically just said in a paragraph that you all have become pros at online delivery based on the situation in the spring. And I'm sure all the PD that you've had this summer to be able to be versed in how to offer virtual training. So that is where you would, well, actually, there's nothing to do there unless you want to list any additional trainers. And I believe David Lawson wanted to add something to this. David?
Yes. You can have additional trainers assist you in teaching the OSHA 10. And Zach, if I say something wrong, please jump in and correct me. But if Mr. McKinney is teaching OSHA 10 and he has Mr. Weiss there who's an electrician, he may want to look at Mr. Weiss to teach electrocution. Or if Mr. Barden and the DJJ, if Randy Adams is teaching it in Mayfield or Scott Amon is teaching it in Northern Kentucky, he could have Greg Gamble at Woods Bend actually teach the electrocution part. Or that is one of the good things that's come out of COVID is we don't necessarily have to be in the same facility. Or you could have a local fire department come in and do the fire prevention portion of it for an hour. But you just need to list those here in if you're going to do that.
Yep, that's a pretty good summary, David. Yeah, and remember, if you're the trainer of record submitting the training, just for record audit purposes, should you sub something out to another instructor, make sure that you get a copy of their credentials and keep that in the course records for that class. And if it's not another trainer, just a written resume or a written document, showing the qualifications.
Okay, thank you, Zach and David. So we can move on to E. And this just says the type of hardware, software, and/or system students will utilize to participate in the alternative training method. So again, this is just a fill in the blank. We have given some examples of such as the Chromebook or their student's personal computer. We don't know what your situation is locally, whether they are all using the same mechanism or, they're doing different things. So that's just up to you to fill in at the local level. And then F says the location of the origin training site and the type of hardware, software, system that will be used. Same thing. It's just a fill in the blank. Based on what's going on locally in your district. All right, and G, list of the off-site training locations. Students must receive training in a classroom, auditorium, or conference setting, and basically we are saying they cannot attend, they're not allowed to congregate at this time, and that the instructor will have visual access to the participants via an online meeting platform. And H, this is the primary OSHA outreach program authorized trainer must ensure that a proctor is present in each training location. The proctor will monitor consistent student attendance and collect daily sign-in sheets. The proctor's printed first and last name and signature must appear on those sign-in sheets. So we are saying that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, students will be attending virtually, and so you would be gathering the sign-in sheet from whatever mechanism you use, how they allow that, how they allow you to capture who is actually in that meeting. And so we want to talk about, and I think David alluded to it earlier, but talk about it a little bit more, is we have the opportunity here. So let's just say a school has lost their trainer or they don't have a trainer right now for various reasons. This opportunity can be available to other schools, but we are saying that if you are partnering with another school and doing another schools virtually, then that school needs to have a proctor that is going to assist with getting students' attendance, collecting the daily sign-in sheets, because the instructor does not know the students from the other school. So whether it be, even a discipline issue or if the participating school would need to also have a proctor that would assist the trainer to facilitate that session. So again, we're going to just leave this up to you all, how you want to partner as far as, and again, I think we have some of our Area Technology Center consultants on here. If this is something that you all would want to even coordinate regionally, if the locals can do this with an ATC. Really, this is how anybody would want to work it out. So, if the school needs it done and they reach out and they say, hey, do you have 20 spots left? Because when I'm looking at, every year I get the attendant, or I get how many students were trained at each school. And so sometimes it's just maybe a 20 maximum. And so that would mean there was 20 spots left open that they could open up to another school. David Lawson, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I would like to talk about in H, it mentions student attendance. And typically when we are in-person instruction, you have to do a daily sign-in sheet. And you need to submit that daily sign-in sheet to EKU. Virtually, that's not an option, so we need to be able to, in Google Meets or Teams or however you all are delivering this, be able to show a participant list and verify that the students were actually there. Along with that, and I don't know that it says it here, but taking of attendance is outside of the 10 hours. Giving quizzes is outside of the 10 hours. So if you have a 48-minute period, class period, you really can't count 45 minutes. You're going to be more like 30 minutes a day because you have to take attendance and there may be a knowledge check involved with that. So just remember that a taking of attendance and giving of quizzes is above and beyond the 10 hours.
Thank you, David. So we can move on to I, and this is where your colleagues on the teacher teams that I mentioned earlier have done a lot of the heavy lift, and I believe that Reagan is going to kind of be able to take us on a tutorial through these outlines.
Yeah, Mary. So these links are just the outlines, which can be found on the Google Drive. If you want to wait till we get to the Google Drive section, we can go over all of it at once there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to J,
which is next. So here we go.
So it says list of the materials that were provided to each student, including a description of when and how the students will receive their materials. So these links will be available to you. And the instructor will distribute these to the students via email, chat box, paper copies, and or designated online platform. So again, that's a local decision. So now, Reagan, if you'd like to give us that tutorial, please.
These will be sent out following the meeting this afternoon. These drives are what you will receive a link to. Now, if you're joining this just via the link, the only permissions that you will have are the ability to view the materials in this drive and the ability to download. And I would recommend that you get in here and open all of these different folders and download and save them to your own personal computer, because we feel like this is going to be a useful tool for instructors even beyond our virtual environment that we find ourselves in now. There is a separate drive for construction and a separate drive for general industry. In each of the drives, there is an outline, which Mary referenced right before this, and it shows the order of each of the courses, the length of time, and then each of them has their own folder. David, I think it was fall protection that you wanted to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to thank these three gentlemen, Jeff and James and John, who put this together. This is the most organized I've ever seen OSHA 10, as far as it goes with KDE. they have put in here PowerPoints. There's a lesson plan is in there. Those of you in construction know that fall protection is one of the focus 4. So we have that document as well as some of the fatal facts. They have a 12 to 15 question test there with an answer key, and also YouTube and Osha video list there that all you have to do is click on it. It'll take you to that video. This has been set up for every topic in construction and every topic in general industry. And as Reagan said, I would recommend you get in there and download those so you'll have them all in one nice, neat little package.
I'm just going to comment that is a wonderful way to organize that. I mean, we've seen some of that material before. I know a lot of it is new, but that is an excellent resource. So thank you to those gentlemen for putting that together.
Good, Zach, we're glad you approve. Okay, so we're going to move right along to K, and it says a description of how the primary OSHA outreach training program authorized trainer will ensure that the introduction to OSHA module will be conducted in a participatory manner. So we are saying students will be engaged through the use of, and again, we just gave you some examples there. Your district may be doing something that we haven't even heard of. And that they will have an audio and video function as well as the chat box allowing students to participate. And then the next one talks about how will we ensure that one or more authorized trainers are available to respond to student questions. So basically it's kind of the same thing. They're going to have the audio video chat box capabilities where they can have real-time questions, and then that you would be available for email as well to answer those student questions. And kind of along those same lines in M as well, how will the student questions be answered quickly and effectively? And again, we're going to have real-time through the chat box, audio, video, and email. So N talks about the description of how the authorized trainer will ensure the effective two-way communication will be incorporated. Again, it's kind of along the same lines, answers of the other ones, chat box, audio, video, email. So this one talks about your schedule. And so EKU they have seen this draft template. And they have said, you know, if everything that we have filled in and then the items that you are to fill in, they really don't foresee any problem in getting this accepted. So this is one of the things that you are going to have to fill in, and you are going to have the schedule of your classes, including dates, to be provided below. They also need links to the meetings, but we understand that those links may not be set up at the time that you submit this for approval. But you should go ahead and have those meeting dates. You should know when you're going to offer this. Again, we all know that this is crazy times, and I will have a question for Zach at the end about in-person versus virtual, because you may have picked some dates that you think that you're going to be virtual and you might be in person or vice versa. But again, the dates need to be submitted to the best of your knowledge. And then if the links, it would be great to go ahead and include the links, but if that's not available yet, they just need those prior to the class starting. Zach, do you want to say anything else about that?
That's accurate. And, you know, just to echo what you said, we understand, we know we need to be flexible right now, but before you begin training, well, I mean, obviously you have to submit this whole package, but so once approved though, just make sure that we have those links, and we'll be in good shape.
Okay. All right, Reagan, if we can scroll on down. So it says, due to the nature of the delivery, a testing component is going to be required. And so basically what we have done here is and let me just go ahead and say it's highlighted that each of these following need to be kept on file for 5 years. And as David says above, time allotted is not counted for instructional time for these quizzes and evaluations. So level 1 says student satisfaction surveys for content and delivery. So here are 11 question survey, and then Reagan, are we gonna show them that or just talk about it?
No problem. Just show really quick. We will include with the email that we send out following this meeting with the link to the materials and this template, a couple different options for you to get the survey to the students. One of the options that'll be attached to the email is just a PDF. It gives a student the ability to just make check marks. So it's fairly easy. But then provided the virtual environment, we've also given an example of a Google survey where you would send a student a link to the survey. Those examples are in both of the construction and the general industry drive. They have the same questions, and then the instructor gets a printout, and it can also be anonymous in that way. The thing with the Google survey, if you choose to go that route, is you cannot send out this link because it is owned by the Google Drive. You can make your own and copy it, or there's a really quick, easy way to copy this one. You just right-click on the form and hit Make a Copy. But after you do that, you will need to move the copy into your own personal drive rather than leaving it there in the Osha 10 drive for all of the instructors to see. Hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Reagan. So a couple of different ways, but those are the questions that are on the survey. So we included those for EKU to see.
And we'll give some more details about how to do that when we send out a follow-up email.
So the quizzes have already been established as well. So we're saying a 10-question quiz will be given to the participants following a 1-hour session, and a 5-question quiz following a 30-minute session. It will be at the discretion of each instructor to determine how to remediate students who don't perform well on the assessment. So that's something you will decide at the local level, that students really just did not get something on the material, how you will go over that. If they did not do well on the quiz, how you will go over that. And then this is the last item. So there will be a follow-up survey. This is up to you to do in the spring semester to gauge how much information students have retained or how they are using what they learned in the lab and the school or on the job site if applicable. So this is, again, up to you to decide how to capture. And that is going to conclude our presentation of this template. Now we can open this up for questions, or I don't really see any in the chat. I do see a comment from Corey Martin. Thank you, Corey, for that. It talks about an easy way to keep track of student attendance. After each section, post 2 to 3 review questions for students to answer. Make the questions hard enough to where the student needs to actively listen to find the answers. They can answer the questions in the form of a comment, which will timestamp and show they were in attendance. So thank you, Corey, for sharing that. So does anyone else have any comments or questions? Or Zach, do you want to add anything?
Ms. Taylor, this is Tim Mason. As far as the training report, is that done as usual, as if we were doing in-class sessions?
David, can you help me out with that one?
I'm going to defer to Zach.
Yeah, you're still going to use the portal, the outreach training portal, to submit the report of the training. And I do want to emphasize here, this is a template that a lot of people put a lot of work into, but nobody is like pre-approved. You still need to, as the instructor, submit this request to Christy before you do any virtual training. We'll look at that request. It's likely to get approved, and then you would submit the training report through the outreach portal at EKU like you normally would for an in-person class.
Okay.
And you want to document those records. I know David spoke about the logs from the video conferencing software that you choose to use. So I know Zoom pretty well does a nice breakdown that shows timestamps for time entered, time ended, and you can break that down by user, so it exports to Excel. That's a good one. I do want to emphasize we don't necessarily need to be receiving all of your sign-in sheets. I mean, we still just need your program report, but I need you as the instructors to keep those like you would your sign-in sheets for record audit purposes. I mean, I know there's probably 50, 60 people on here, so we don't need the sign-in sheets necessarily for all of your classes, but just hang on to those for later. And Christy, if you want to chime in there too, you can.
Yeah, I think you got it, Zach. That was everything.
Okay.
So we have a question in the chat box. It says, if you have both general industry and construction, must you submit 2 forms or 1 for both? So Zach, you want to answer that one?
Your virtual training request can include multiple classes. We can't give a blanket approval that, we can't say go nuts till December. But if you have dates and times for 2 separate classes and you want to use the same technology to conduct those classes, you use the same platform, Zoom, maybe Google Classroom, whatever for the quizzes, that's fine. Just make sure that they're listed as 2 separate courses on your request.
So Zach, if the trainer is authorized in both general industry and construction, though, do they have to submit a request for both?
Well, it would be cleaner to do that. We need to see the template for both. I guess what I'm saying. If you're doing a request for general industry and construction, we'd need to see that topic outline that they just went through and that kind of thing for both subjects. So that's fine. And of course, obviously, you'd have two program reports once the training is completed, and that comes to EKU.
Okay. So we have a question from Eric Breitz. Are the limits on amount of instructional time spent on the video still the same? I cannot answer that. Who can?
Okay. Typically, we say not to exceed 25% of the classroom with videos, classroom time. That really still kind of stands. The idea with virtual training is that it's virtual instructor led, it's live. We want discussion, participation. We want the students asking questions. We want you instructing. You'll be screen sharing a PowerPoint. You can also kind of set up a lab there at the shop or whatever if you have one of those to go through equipment if you want to show equipment on screen. We don't want to do is just stream video for each section and move along. So we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. And there's been some excellent materials put together for you to use too.
I have a question, or I guess not really a question. It's more of a clarification. So the link that we're going to get to that Google Drive, we're free to use that material kind of how we please as far as how we're going to put this class together. So what I would probably do, if this is acceptable, is I would build a Google Classroom and just title it OSHA 10 General Industry. And then I'm the only OSHA instructor in my school, so I would do like 20 to 25 students at a time. And then it would be 10, those 10 hours or 10 sections with like what I mentioned in the chat box there with those quizzes being at the end of each section. Students respond to those questions. That'll be their daily attendance. And then just have my same test that I've been using at the very end, just put it in the form of like a Google form.
Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned at EKU, my understanding, and David, you may want to chime in here too. I think they put together material to match the topic outline. And I think they have a template topic outline, breaks it down per topic and provides content. So, I mean, I'm fine with you using material, but I think what's been provided is kind of provided in such a way that it can be plugged right into the topic outline that's put together and provided. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we really try to just kind of create a plug and play model for you all just to help out. And so you'll offer this and with as less stress as possible because we know how stressful your school year is. So did that answer your question, Corey?
Yeah, it does. But I guess my real question was, can I put it together how I want, basically, instead of sticking to that? Is that written in stone, or can I still alter
Well,
it
I think David and Reagan, you all correct me if I'm wrong. If he does that, would he have to change the outline? He couldn't use the outline that's on the Google Drive. Is that correct?
That would be correct. But you still need to make sure you hit the focus 4 topics in the intro.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
but Corey, I think you're asking if there's an issue about posting those materials to your Google Classroom or something like that. And no,
Right.
that's not an issue. That's kind of the direction we first saw this going.
Right, because what I would do is I would create this classroom, and then I would use it over and over, because I teach typically, I'll do this 3 to 4 times, because we've got my program, we've got diesel, we've got industrial maintenance, and we've got welding. So you're talking about 80 to 120 students, and I can only do 20 to 30 at a time. So I generally will do this 3 to 4 different times a year. So I would just take the first batch of students, accept them into this course. When they're done, remove them, then accept my next batch of students, and just keep repeating the process.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trying to do it for, I guess 4 separate ways, just do it one time and then just change the students out.
Okay. Yes, and we're glad you plan on doing that many students. Thank you. So going back, Eric Holly wants to know, how long do we have from start to finish the course? It looks like David Lawson answered that at typically 180 days. Zach, is that still the case?
Yeah, you have a 6-month window to start and finish your course.
However, this virtual option, as far as you know, is only available through December, correct?
That is correct. So if you were to start virtually and not finish, I suppose one could entertain the idea of finishing in classroom. That being said, that VILT window, that deadline is at this time.
Okay. And then this was actually Jeff Mulkey and I had the same question. I just hadn't gotten to mine yet. So Zach, this is for you. So what if they start out virtually and then, they go to in person, or vice versa? They start the training in person and they go virtually. What does that look like?
Well, my recommendation would be, if you start in person, obviously you don't have to have an exception for that because you're an authorized trainer. If you go virtual at some point, you need to include in this template that's been provided to you for requesting that exception that you've already completed whatever you've completed in person, and we can give you the exception to finish what you need to virtually. And if that changes and for some reason you decide not to actually finish it virtually, let Christy know, send her an email and let her know what you've done virtually and your intent to complete in person. We're trying to be flexible, but ultimately remember, if you kind of go back and forth, you still need to have those. If it's in person, you need a signature for each student for each day. Virtually, you'll need to have that electronic means of some type of attendance log or call record to show who was on that that virtual meeting. And if you have both, you need to keep up with both. That would just be my advice.
Thanks, Zach. So the next question is, do students need to be visible on camera for us to see the entire 10 hours? Zach, I believe that's a yes. Do you want to confirm that?
Yes, preferably. We need to know that they're there. So the default should be webcams are on. Now, if you're using something like Teams, as we can kind of see today, the more people you get in the classroom, the laggier it can get. If you need to have them turn off cameras because of bandwidth at some point, just make sure that you check in periodically, have them turn cameras on, and show that they're there. Now, that being said, try to keep their cameras on the whole time. Some softwares handle and scale better with larger groups than others, so might keep that in mind as well. We've had 50 people on a Zoom call, and it doesn't slow down, and sometimes I get 30 on a Teams call, and it buckles. It just depends. Depends on the software and the network. But yes, make sure that there's some way to see them every hour or so if you're forced to cut off the camera. If you have a student that has low bandwidth and they have to call in or something, I know that's a reality that we may face. Make sure that you're checking in regularly with that student.
Okay, thank you, Zach. How do we receive the Google document from you? You will receive a email after this. I don't know if it'll be tonight or first thing in the morning, but you will receive that with the links and the attachments. And then Reagan has answered that. David and Reagan both answered that. Let's see. Reagan has put up the sign-in sheet again, because you will not get access to this unless we have you on this sign-in sheet. So you could have attended this meeting, but if we don't have you on the sign-in sheet, we will not be emailing this. So you had to have attended this meeting to have access to this information.
Mary?
Yes?
Gary Lale. I've been listening to this whole thing on the phone. Our internet at school is down.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure you knew I was here.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Duly noted. The $8 fee for the card, however you handle that, as usual, local as usual. Zach, do you want to say anything about gathering that, is there anything that's different with that on your all's end?
I'll be honest, you were kind of cutting in and out that last bit, so I didn't fully catch that question.
I was just saying, I think it's going to be business as usual with the $8 and getting the card and all of that stuff. Like that's nothing's going to change on your end. It's just going to be how they would do it normally, correct?
Yes. Yeah, you can run through the TouchNet store. For that, it would be preferable if you have someone at your school that has a purchasing card permission to just run those to the store. It'll be a faster turnaround. I know some of you pay by check and mail those to Christy, but if you already have a established relationship of doing that, then that would be fine. But yeah, it would be business as usual sort of with that.
Okay. So Floyd Light says, if a student loses connection and signs back in, how do we handle that? Zach, that's for you.
Well, I think it would be much like if a student is sick or something in a regular class. If they're stepping out into the hallway to take a phone call or take a restroom break, that's not a big deal. If somebody loses connection for 5 or 10 or 20 minutes even, maybe, that's not a huge deal. But if somebody's out half the day or a whole day or something, then they'll need to make plans with you to make up that session or that material that was missed.
Okay. So Victor Pennington, well, I'd like to know how you sign in. Victor, did you get that squared away? She put the Google link on there for you to get signed in. Josh Parmley wants, I'm sorry? Okay, I'll move on. Josh Parmley wants to know, so just needing to clarify on the Zoom or Google Meet aspect, Will utilizing the phone in for an option suffice? Just document it. Zach?
Okay, so the default preference is webcam, computer audio, right? I mean, that's what we want to encourage, and that's what I would instruct your class to do. I would wait for a student to reach out to you and say, hey, I have a bandwidth issue. This is my issue. I can't do that. And then you can make a plan with them to connect by phone and maybe follow along with PowerPoint or something. But I don't want to advertise that option, especially widely, because I feel like that could get exploited and people might not attend. So I don't want to advertise that phone option.
Point noted, Zach. Absolutely. Ray Chase wants us to know he is on. He's watching with Mr. Lewis. So Ray, you will be getting that email as well. Hey, Ray. So Chris Morris wants to know, what would approval time estimate for templates? That would either be a question for David or one of our teachers.
I believe that would be Zach or Christie.
Are you asking how
sorry.
long it takes the approval to be issued by EKU for your request?
I'm sorry. Yes, that's what they're asking. I botched that for sure. So how long will the turnaround time be, Zach and Christy, for you all to approve these about?
Typically within a couple days. This is not something that we want to take a lot of time to do. I know we've got a pretty quick turnaround window here that we're looking at, but I mean, that being said, make sure that you follow the template and that you provide a good detailed response to those areas that you were left to fill in. The clearer and more detailed you are on that request for exception, the more likely that is to move quickly. If we have to kick it back and forth a few times, and that does happen, it can slow it down, but usually about 2 days.
Perfect. Thank you. Scott Bratcher wants to know how to sign in. Scott, there is a Google link. All right. Sean Miller says Google Meets is limited at the moment on options it has. What do you suggest the best way to take attendance? I am still new to the Google Meets. Any additional info would be appreciated. Reagan, would you know that answer?
What? I don't. I have not had any experience with the Google Meet. I'm Google Drive well versed, but not. JW Blackburn has his hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Google Meets. If you go into Google in the store, it has an add-on. You can get several add-ons. I've been doing lots of trainings, but anyway, there's an add-on where it takes attendance, and it can bring up who's in the class and compare it to a previous class. So if you have the same class every day, you can immediately identify who's there, who's not there, and record it on Google Meets attendance. So yes, there's an add-on in the store, and it's got really good directions on how to use it.
Great. Thank you,
JW is the man. There
Awesome
you
to
go.
know
Thank
that.
you, Squire.
Thank you. Okay, you all, if we're kind of wrap up, any other additional questions?
I have a question, Mary. This is kind of a housekeeping thing, and it's not really associated. I'm showing Mr. Mason and Mr. Draper as being general industry and construction. If there's someone else on this call who has both general industry and construction, would you email me so I can get you on the list? Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Mary, I just kind of wanted to say, if anybody gets off here and thinks of a question, or if anything comes up, David should be your first point of contact for construction, and Reagan should be your first go-to for general industry. We don't want to overwhelm EKU with questions if it's something that David and I could answer. We will go to Zach if we need to.
Yes, this is Paul Spears, and I had to do it via telephone because our internet was down in the school. So how do I sign in for this meet?
You said your name was
I'll
Paul
get-
Spears?
Yes.
I'll get you signed in,
I know.
Mr.
David will sign in for you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else on the phone that we need to make sure gets logged in? Okay. I see another question in the chat box. Is the max student capacity of 40 negotiable, or is it an OSHA requirement? Zach?
Okay, max 40 is an OSHA guideline. The 60-day notice for exception to go over 40 is still in place. So I know that's kind of a copy and paste response, but I would encourage you, based on our experiences in a virtual environment, not to go over 40. It can get pretty tangled with all the screens. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Zach. Anyone else? Question or comment? Okay. We have one from Brad Shadler. My school uses the NCCR curriculum for student certification and expects me to teach it. Can I blend both OSHA and NCCR in the class at the same time? I'm sorry, in the class, and the time be counted fully for OSHA requirements. David Lawson, do you want to take a stab at that one?
No, it must be 10 hours of OSHA instruction following the course outline set forth by the United States Department of Labor and EKU. We can't blend them together.
Okay, thank you. We have a very nice comment from JW Blackburn. So we appreciate that, JW. And thank you. I know you have the past year for sure. I know you did well over, I think, 100 students. So we certainly appreciate that. Hope you keep up that good work. Thank you. Anyone else as we wrap up? If you all are thinking of any, I'll go ahead and kind of do closing comments and then you can jump in. We certainly want to thank you for your time after school today. It shows your dedication to these students and this valuable credential. So we really, really appreciate your participation, and we are here for you to, if you have any questions afterwards. Reagan has really become our Google guru, and David Lawson is certainly a technical expert for sure. So Zach, do you want to say anything, or Christy in closing?
Just again, thank you all for being on the call, and I would encourage you, as always, as you move forward with this and you obtain the template and you start putting together your exception requests, don't be afraid to reach out, ask us questions, either Christy or myself, and we will try to assist you with helping you meet the goals that you need to meet to get that exception. Now, if we get inundated, it may take a minute to respond, but don't be a stranger. If you have questions, please ask. It's always easier to ask on the front end than it is to send something back with a denial and pass it back and forth. So we'll try to help every way we can.
Okay, any last minute questions? We'll give you 7 minutes of your life back. So I'm going to stop recording now, and we can